a look at an organization bringing help to orphans, and a testimony. All that and more coming up now on Joy in the City True Stories. Joy in the City is a program highlighting people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and dysfunction in our culture, but we are coming with a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. Isaiah 1:17 says, "Defend the cause of the fatherless." The Pennsylvania Orphan Care Alliance is doing just that. We recently spoke with the Blair County representative about this organization.
Can you guys tell me, how did this all begin?
Yeah, we became foster parents in October of last year, and immediately we got a placement, and we have 3 biological children. In January, we got a call for a sibling set, and we originally weren't sure because we already had a decent amount of kids, but we said yes. The call came back around to us, and we said yes, and we just had a lot of kids and a lot of craziness, but we love fostering. And our biggest thing was we were overwhelmed with, when you get a placement, there's a lot. Yeah, it's an adjustment for us, for our biological children, for them. And immediately when we got the call, we asked for prayer from our church and my mom's group. And they answered that by immediately coming to our house and coming with diapers and wipes and clothing and groceries. They
did our laundry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. They provided meals for at least the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was just amazing for us. And during all that time, as they took care of all of our physical needs, we realized we didn't have to do any of that because we could focus on our own children and the children in our home. And that's when we got to talking of, this needs to be noticed in churches. This needs to be provided. This needs to be talked about. How can we support foster families? Because it was huge. And we probably would have thrown in the towel, pretty quickly because we had a lot of kids and a lot going on, and we were in survival mode. And that's when we knew God was calling us to look for a ministry for foster care support.
So tell me a little bit about, what does Orphan Care Alliance do for people?
There's several things. It's mostly just we want to bring awareness to foster care. There's 14,000 foster kids in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So that's just huge. So we want to bring awareness that bringing up more foster families, but also supporting those foster families. And that's exactly what they do. There's several ways. There's an online portal, gateway, that you can, we partner with the county, and the caseworkers can plug in the needs of a new family or a foster child that they would possibly have. And then whoever would sign up as a volunteer on there, they just get an email of that need, and they can meet it. So that's an immediate way someone can help a foster family, which is amazing. There's also, we're going to work with churches to get care communities to have a wraparound support for any foster families. So the statistics are huge. I don't know if you want to share them.
Sure. Nationally, after 1 year, the average foster family, half of them will quit being foster parents just because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
In Center County, where it just started, it actually, the ratio flips. It's not, after 2 years, 90% quit if they do not have these care communities. They've been doing it for 14 years, and in those 14 years, they've seen that now after 2 years, 90% will stay when they are properly supported.
Wow.
Yes. So, the ratio completely flips.
Yeah.
And not only does that make more foster families, but then they are better with the children themselves because they are well supported. So they are able to put that time and effort into the children instead of just running around trying to put out fires all the time.
That's cool. Yeah, I can totally see the need. It's hard enough being a parent, to your own children sometimes. So that support It'd be greatly appreciated because it is a big change. How have you seen this grow and develop through the months and years?
It started with our director, Vince Smith, out of Center County like 14 years ago. And he just kept it based there for a while. And in 2020, he felt God was calling them to do what they were doing in Center County to spread out to the other 66 counties in Pennsylvania. So right now there's 10 counties that are working as, PA Orphan Care Alliance and are getting functioning. But, the hope and prayer is that we can expand,
Right.
Because that is just helping support the foster families, and we're hoping through knowing there's going to be support that there will be more foster families willing to come up, knowing that they're not going to be alone.
Right.
They're going to be supported, and that alone I think is huge. Is even the statistics with how long they last then.
Yeah.
I think that should be encouraging for foster families currently and ones who are going to step out in faith to doing that as well.
Yeah, because it can be a very scary step, I'm sure, the unknown
Yes.
of it all. And so to have that support would just be such a blessing. So what are ways that we and other people can help with this cause?
Absolutely. There is multiple ways, and that's what I love about the PA Orphan Care Alliance. Not everyone is called to foster. We do always say to people, really stop and pray if you were to be a foster parent and let God speak through you to that, because I'm sure there's some out there that are just holding back and just, because of the unknown.
Right.
Which is understandable.
Right.
Obviously, usually God doesn't call you to do things that are easy or things that are comfortable.
He never shows you that whole picture,
Yes,
does he?
yes, no, so
Just
you-
one little piece.
Yes, so this is kind of some of those couples that are sitting there thinking, I feel like God's calling me to this, but you have that list of reasons why you can't do it. I'll be honest, I still have that list of reasons, but God doesn't care about that list
Right.
of reasons. We were supposed to do it, so God said, I want you to do it. You better do it.
Yeah. Need to be obedient.
Yeah. And our hope and prayer is to get at least 3 foster families available in every school district, because that's a huge thing for foster kids, that they also have to transition sometimes out of schools because they're just going to wherever's available.
Right.
And the least amount of transition is best for the child.
Absolutely.
So just if we could get more families to rise up to be foster families, but not everyone's called to foster, but everyone we do believe is called to care for the orphans.
Yes.
And there are so many ways that you can do that. If you just feel like you can meet a need on the Gateway portal, it's so quick and easy to sign up. You can sign up as a volunteer there, and you can see the needs. It can be simple as a crib or a mattress that is needed for a family, or simply gift cards to help some of the family with their expenses.
Yeah.
But then there's also within churches, we would love to see care communities being built through each individual church. And they're a team of 5 people that would just wrap around a local foster family, and they stick with them and just give them support, not just physically, but also spiritually and emotionally. They are there to take prayer requests, to just celebrate with that family, but also be there for date nights and things like that. So it's huge. So we'd love to see churches sign up for care communities as well. And so there's the Gateway and care communities for churches, but then also just even donating. If you can't do any of that, donating. It is a nonprofit, so any of the donations that can be given to us will help and go towards that cause as well.
And to come back for care communities as well, you got to realize not all foster families obviously are Christians.
Right,
So that's
right.
one of the reasons we go into churches,
What a great
because
way.
Yeah.
this is just a way to give the gospel to people, just to actually get out of your comfort zone and show Christ's love to
Yeah.
people by providing love to them. That's just, we are called to do that. Obviously in the churches, to get more people surrounding them as well. Also, we'll get more foster families out there. So that just gives the gospel through the children. And we talk to so many people, the parents of the children, all the workers that we see, the social workers that come to the house. we have so many opportunities to witness and just be a witness for Christ that this is just something I feel like really needs to get into the churches.
Yeah. I mean, as you're sitting here and speaking, I've never heard of you guys before. And I just think like, wow, what an opportunity to minister to children who so need just a loving hand and just, people to come around them. And I know I'm the ladies director at Transformation Church, and you've tugged at my heartstrings, and I would love to know more information, and I would love to get our women involved and connected into this, because it really sounds like a great opportunity and a way to just minister to a needy people that so need just to hear from God and how he loves them and is there for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing your story. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story. This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs. We believe strongly in the value of a personal testimony. On this segment, we will see a powerful testimonial story from Tabatha Barr.
Tabatha, could you just tell us a little bit about your life 20 years ago now when you were married to your first husband?
Yes, I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in England, and my first husband was very physically abusive. So the Air Force allowed me to leave and come home. Whenever I did come home and I tried to leave him, he beat and raped me. Then they sent him to jail, and I got a PFA on him. Nobody let me know that he was released from jail. So I was staying at my mom at the time, because whenever I left him, and he broke into my mom's house with a sawed-off shotgun, 2 pockets full of ammo, and he said he was going to take his life and mine. And the police was doing a hostage situation. They was trying to talk him down, trying to get him to come out and let me go. And as he was on the phone with his mom, they was trying to distract him. I seen a cop coming up the steps, and the cop was face to face with him. And at that time, he placed the gun underneath his chin and took his life in front of me. And so I struggled for a long time. I was raised in a Christian home. I always went to church. When my mom and dad separated, we stopped going to church. So for a long time I struggled, because I kind of thought, like, why me? Like, why did this happen to me? I didn't think that being a Christian, anything big could happen to you. And finally, my friend told me about this church they go to, which is here, Transformation. And it was like a blessing, because I just felt at home. I got connected with the women here. So with all of that, I just felt like God was pulling me back in. And I felt like, I mattered and God was here. So everything that had happened to me, the main thing that I kept looking at was God saved me. And there was a reason he saved me.
That's right.
So I felt like I had a purpose. And as long as I just continued to follow the Lord, I knew that there was a reason I was still here.
Now, I know that you've said, you've had some struggles because of this situation and other things that have happened, and you've had to, at times, even be on medication and things. How did you work through that? Because now you are off all the medication.
Yes. So the military, with everything I went through, diagnosed me with PTSD, depression and anxiety. I was on 3 medications through the VA. And I just kept praying, and I didn't like the way I felt. I wanted to be me. And I felt like the closer I was with the Lord, the less I had to rely on the worldly things, medications. And I just felt like the more I just kept, doing things with church, and I do Bible studies and get with the women. And I just felt like my main thing was to put my focus on the Lord, because He is who saved me.
Right.
And I am no longer on a medication, so.
Praise God. That's
Yes.
amazing to hear, because a story like this, I mean, most people can't even imagine some of the things that you faced. And here you are sitting with us today saying, I am able to be off all medications. And the reason is because of what God's doing in and through you. And that's exciting to hear. Now, we know life isn't all perfect now. So what is life for you like right now? What are some things that, you're still facing, and that, you still have hardships over, but that God's going to help you through?
I have also dealt with a lot of other things growing up, abuse, like from men. I've seen like a lot of men in my life, what I got hurt from. And so what I did was the main man in my life was the Lord. And that's where I put my focus. And I needed to stop putting my focus on worldly, like main people in my family who has hurt me. But now my main thing is me and my kids. Make sure we come to church. We make sure we are with Christian, friends. And I try to do as much with church as I can. I think as long as I focus more on the Lord, and I notice if I'm not so much doing with the Lord, that is when a lot of things do seem to like hit me.
Right.
Because it's not perfect. I do have days where depression, and I'm just like, I just don't want to leave the house, and then I notice, like, then the Lord hits me like, what's going on? Yeah. Focus back on me.
Right.
So that's my main thing. As long as I pay attention and focus, and really just try to put my life where I know He wanted me to be.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't be here today.
When I hear this story, it really hits me hard, because I know you went through a lot, and I love that you just know that your eyes need to be on Him, and when they are, that there's, a difference, and there's a peace that can surround you. And I want women and men to know that. If you were to give advice to any woman who is facing things like that, what would you say?
I would say try to surround yourself with people who lift you up. If it's a woman, Christian friends, a big thing. Family that are there for you. And a lot of, like, I love to listen to worship music. Mm-hmm. So if you feel like you're having a hard time, put on worship music. You don't realize what just lifts your spirit.
Yeah.
And find a good church that you feel at home with. I mean, don't ever feel alone, because you're not. Even when you feel alone, the Lord's there. But also reach out to somebody, because there's people that love you, and the Lord definitely will always be there for you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this tough story that I really feel will minister to so many people. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
If you have a personal story or testimony you'd be willing to share with our community, we'd love to chat with you about it. Please contact us at 814-944-1948 or by email at stories@joyinthecity.org. For our final segment today, we have a few thoughts from Pastor Jim Balzano as he shares from his podcast, Transformed.
Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Transformed. Today I want to talk to you about servant leadership.
Welcome to today's message with Pastor Jim Balzano.
And before I go any further, I always want to thank Park Home for our studio furniture and Taylor Design and Events for designing our studio. Recently, our church staff spent 2 days on a mini retreat. We played, we laughed, and we did a lot of work. It was a great time. During that time, we did an exercise that discovered and defined what we wanted as a set of core values as a team. To do that, we asked the following questions. First of all, we ask, who are we, or who do we want to be? Secondly, we ask, what kind of environment do we want for our office, our church, and ministries? And then we ask the question, where are we going? The next question was, how do we approach our work? And the last question is, why do we do what we do? Now, we had a lot of fun answering these questions. We took sticky notes and everybody wrote down 3 or 4 answers to each one of those questions, and we put them on a wall, and then we took off the ones that were the same, and we eventually narrowed it down to a set of words that became our core values. Now, here, let me give you a sentence that defines all of them, and then I'm going to talk to you about one of them. To answer the question, this is the sentence. We are servant leaders in an atmosphere of love, inspiration, and joy that are in pursuit of kingdom purposes as we work with passion, diligence, and faith because we are compelled by the love of God. Now, I know that's a lot, but I'm going to highlight each core value for the next number of weeks because while they may not be a core value for perhaps your team, I believe they are still godly values that leaders must embrace. And so today I want to talk to you about servant leadership. The two words used together almost sound like a paradox or an oxymoron. In some settings, the word leader and the word servant are not connected unless it is servants serving the leaders. The truth, however, is Christ-like leadership is leadership that is done in a spirit of servanthood. Christ-like leaders know they are given positions of leadership to serve the people, not to be served by the people. Now, any God-ordained leadership is leadership meant to be done in the spirit of servanthood. The definition of leading from the scripture is a position that presides over or is set over or goes before. It is to protect and to guard that which is being led or those being led. One of the tools that leadership must have in order to lead effectively is authority. It is a tool of leadership. Without it, leadership is weakened. But we use our authority to serve God. We use it to serve His purpose and His people. God has not appointed leaders and given them authority to be self-serving. You see, the spirit of leadership is equipped with authority, but the spirit of servanthood governs authority. Take a look at the life of Jesus. He was appointed by God. And the Bible says he was given authority. Jesus actually said, all authority is mine. All authority has been given to me. He had authority to lay down his life. He had authority to pick up his life. He had authority over demons. He had authority over nature. Jesus had all authority. And he could have used that authority for selfish purposes. Why didn't he? He said it. He said, the Son of Man came to serve, not to be served. You see, Jesus, the leader with all authority, came to serve the Father first and foremost. He came to serve the purpose of the Father, and he came to serve humanity. The spirit of servanthood governed the spirit of leadership. Authority was governed by servanthood. Servanthood, though, was empowered by authority. Now, thinking about that, let me give you what I believe is our definition for our team for what it means to be a servant leader. That we are leaders appointed by God to use authority in a spirit of humility and servanthood in order to serve God, His purpose, and His people. Now, let me say it again. I believe that our working definition is leaders appointed by God to use authority in a spirit of humility and servanthood in order to serve God and to serve His purposes and to serve His people. Now, let's take this for just a moment and wrap it up by applying it to other spheres of life. Pastors, man, you've been given a sacred trust. You've been given an appointment of God. And that appointment is to be a shepherd. That appointment is to be a leader. That appointment is to serve the purposes of God for the people of God that He has allowed you to lead, that He has given you the privilege and the honor to lead. And we do that using the authority that He gives us. Yet when we use that authority, it has to be done in a spirit of servanthood, that is serving him first, serving his purposes, and serving his people. Servants, pastors who lead in a servant leadership style generally are leaders who can be trusted. They don't usurp people. They don't misuse people. That doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but it means our motives are pure. And so, pastor, use your authority with a spirit of servanthood and serve God and his people. Business leaders, man, you're in charge of people. You've got people. If you first and foremost think of the people that are under you, the people that you lead, your team, your employees, all of you working towards a common good. Imagine for a moment if you flipped the business model upside down and you said, wait a minute, I'm the leader, I'm the boss, but I'm going to be the boss and the leader who has authority, but I'm going to do it in a manner in which I can serve those under me. And as you serve those under you, it will actually empower your authority. It will actually cause people to be drawn more to you than propelled by you. Now listen to this one. Mom and dad, you're leaders. You're leading the family. You have authority, but the best thing you can do is use that in a spirit of servanthood, where, yeah, you know you have authority over your children, and you know you're the boss, and you know that you have charge over them. But you know what? We're also called to serve our kids. And when we can figure out how to navigate this leadership role with a servanthood mentality, even with our kids, it will ultimately make our kids stronger. It demonstrates to them humility. It demonstrates to them love. It demonstrates to them someone who's willing to give themselves for them. And so lead them, use your authority, govern their lives, but allow a spirit of servanthood to govern your authority as you lead them. Servanthood actually empowers authority. And authority should empower your leadership and your servanthood. They go hand in hand. The best leadership is servant leadership. Leaders who serve are leaders who can be trusted. Servants who lead are servants with power. Be a servant leader this week, no matter what sphere of life you find yourself. Model your leadership after Jesus, who had all authority, but governed it in a spirit of servanthood. Have a great week.
That's all the time we have today. Thanks for watching Joy in the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch other episodes of people and organizations having an impact on our community on ABC 23 at 5:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. every Sunday. You can also catch us each week on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Until then, be encouraged because God is moving in our city.